we're going to do some. We're good to talk? All righty. Hey, everybody, we're going to light this candle, as they would say. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the September 17th Planning Committee work session. My name is Douglas A. Welton. I am the chairman of the Planning Committee. Glad to have you here. We are meeting in room 280 at the City County Government Building, and that is 600 East 4th Street. So those of you who can't join us in person, and I do encourage you to come down and hang with us because this is the party. You can hear, obviously, this meeting is being streamed online via YouTube in accordance with all applicable meeting statutes. Please note the requirements for notice, access, and minutes are being met by electronic means. We've got a couple of orders of business here before we get started, mostly for the members of the committee. And I would ask you to please keep your mic muted when you are not speaking. Also, state your name when you are making a motion or a second, and that would be very helpful. We're going to begin with introductions, and I'm going to go all the way to stage left with Commissioner Wilden.
Rebecca Wilden, Planning.
Carolyn Millen, Planning.
Melissa Gaston, Planning.
Now we'll do staff introductions.
Erin Hinson, planning staff.
Gretchen Flores, Planning Staff.
Kathy Cornett, Planning Staff.
Zania Duhaney, Planning Staff.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have anybody that's online joining us, staff-wise? We are in an interesting state right now. We're waiting for one of our commissioners to arrive. So we're going to do a little bit of juggling on our schedule. This committee would normally be filled out with Commissioner Will Russell and Terry Lansdale. Commissioner Lansdale is away today on a professional obligation, and Commissioner Russell is going to walk in the door any second now, I think would be the phrase that we're going to use. And so we're going to juggle the agenda just a little bit, and we're going to begin with item 17 on our agenda, and that is the community area planning discussion. We're going to provide some feedback to the long-range planning team, find out what the latest and greatest is on that, and then we will come back and pick up at item 2 after a short presentation. And I'm going to turn over to Kathy. Are you going to lead this adventure, or one of the other ladies going to lead?
I can't lead it. So community area planning has been going on for past little over a year and a half. And just as level setting, it provides community level guidance from the comprehensive plan to the 14 planning geographies. We have the city broken into 14 different geographies. All 14 plans are being completed at the same time. The first phase focused on kind of getting the lay of the land for each of the geographies and creating community reports, which are on the project website. The second phase focused on adjustments to the policy map, which was the first implementation item adopted, produced and adopted after the adoption of the comprehensive plan. So that was adopted in March of 2022. And then the phase that we're in now is focusing on plan projects and programs. So the expected outcome would be 14 actual area plans, one for each geography, and kind of a guiding document. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then also a refined policy map and manual. So as I mentioned, we are in phase 3, which we're calling supporting the vision. So we know that to achieve the vision that's outlined in the comprehensive plan, that's not only mapping the place-based policies, but it's also projects and programs. And most of those projects and programs are not under the purview of the planning department. They're with our partner departments. So we're kind of flipping the script in this phase. And the workshops, we have 4 cardinal geography workshops, and those workshops focus on our programs that our partners run. So planning is the convener, but our department partners, city and county, are really stars of the show. The next phase is kind of almost going on concurrently with this phase. And that's actually developing the plans and the implementation section of those plans as well, the documents. And then phase 5 will begin in early 2025, and that'll be review and adoption. Just to go back a little bit on phase 2 engagement, all of our engagement basically throughout the process has been fallen into 3 buckets: constant, coordinated, and collaborative. So I always say, like, there's a lot of not so great things that came out of the pandemic, but one thing that on our end that is good is it really helped us to up our game in terms of those constant features and access items that we offer folks, and that's really an expectation today. Coordinated are your traditional workshops and in-person type events. So as you can see here, we had 42 workshops, 3 over each of the 14 geographies, 1 virtual and 2 in person, had almost 500 participants and almost 900 comments. We also had a number of library office hours that we offered over, I think, a 9-month period, and we were in each geography 1 time a month. We had several other meetings that we attended and got a lot of interactions in those, 1,500. And then our virtual platform continues to be, our Constant Bucket continues to be our most popular form that folks are using and have gotten very used to and seem to really appreciate. Then the collaborative bucket is what we're doing here tonight, our elected and appointed officials and keeping you all updated as well. So the outcome of phase 2 was really focused on the place-based policies and updates to the policy map. So when the policy map was initially developed and approved, it's obviously a very large geography, 350 some square miles and thousands of parcels. So the idea that there would be some areas that needed to be tweaked or changed, we were very aware of that. We thought that could be somewhere in the area of 10 to 20%. But after both the external engagement that we've done and internal, so our partner departments are also stakeholders. After all of that engagement, the actual number of changes that we made to the map, which you can see highlighted in yellow, resulted in like a 6% change. So it tells us that we can have a lot of confidence in the mapping effort and in the change and in the small tweaks that we've made. I mentioned the policy map manual as well. That's also available on our website. And I'll go back to say that on our project website, you can find the policy map that was as it is adopted, and then the revisions that were shown that are not yet adopted. The third item that you'll see is the policy map manual. So that provides an overview of the entire process of place types, of preferred adjacencies of place types. It talks about how the policy map relates to the UDO zoning districts. And also it talks about how the policy map can be updated. So those are planning related updates, similar to the approach that we're doing right now with community area plans. That's one way it can be updated. Also minor map amendments, which you typically see through the rezoning process. And also it gives criteria of what are looked for in reviewing those. And then also major map amendments. Next slide. Just to go back a little bit on the development of the policy map, as we've been talking about, it was a multi-year process. And you can see all of the comments that we've gotten throughout the process. And what I would highlight here is that as we move forward, the comments decrease as they should. So in almost 5,000 responses to a live, work, and play survey at the very beginning of the process. And then from the first draft, we had almost 1,000 comments. And now where we are today, after this last comment period, 50 comments. And you can see the different interfaces that we had in both the coordinated and constant buckets and the different methods of engagement that we're using.
Kathy, can I get a quick question in here?
Mhm.
You are receiving revised comments on the revised policy map now.
Yes.
If memory serves, you guys were going to go through about 3 iterations
Yes,
of that.
uh-huh.
Where are we in those?
That was the second draft policy map. There'll be another one that comes out for comment I think at the end of this workshop process.
Okay,
And then there'll be another one prior to council
okay.
adoption. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
But theoretically, people can comment on any parts of any of this until it's adopted.
Until it's
So, yeah.
adopted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So phase 3 engagement, where we are now, I mentioned that that's focusing more on our partners. And a component that we added were focus groups. So in partnership with UNC Charlotte, a couple of professors in the geography department there that are working on some urban heat impact studies. We've partnered with them. They hosted 6 sessions with approximately 50 participants. So because those are focus groups, they're designed to be small conversations. They worked with service providers, really reaching out to those that we don't normally see at meetings, predominantly transit dependent or folks that don't use a vehicle to get around. That was really one of the goals. 3 of the sessions were held in Spanish and 3 were held in English. And you can see the areas that they focused on. It was kind of some overlap with quarters of opportunity work. And you can see some of the themes that were discussed in those. And we'll have a report that comes out from those sessions, a formal report in a month or so. The workshops, there are 8 total workshops. So we're grouping three of the sub-geographies at each workshop. There's 1 virtual option and 1 in-person option for each of those geographies. And as I mentioned, I'll talk a little bit more about it. They're divided into different stations, and really projects and programs provided by other departments are the star of the show. And then we've recreated the workshop experience in an online tool. So we use this online tool in the virtual meetings, but folks can access that online tool 24/7. And they have questions and prompts embedded into the map. There's an image of that in a minute. So here's the schedule for our phase 3 workshops. And here's, we've completed the West. That was last week. We had about 100 participants. Next week, we'll be in the North geography. We'll be up at the Oasis Shriner Temple in person on Thursday night, and Tuesday afternoon will be the virtual option. And you'll see there's 5 different stations that we've grouped all of our partners into. So focusing on mobility, sustainability and open space, public services, community character, and special districts. And so you can see there's almost 20 different departments and partners, city and county, and kind of third sector with the municipal services districts that are at each of those. An idea of what you'll find at one of the stations. This is an example of the mobility station. There'll be posters that are the material that's on each of the posters came from our partners, and we just help format them for consistency's sake. But you can see an example of Charlotte Area Transit, and then CRTPO, our regional transportation organization, and then CDOT with their strategic investment area potential projects, and then samples of some of the questions. I didn't bring one here with me tonight, but there's a passport at the in-person workshops that folks are given, and they can walk around to different stations, ask questions, provide feedback that way if they like. They're also able to provide feedback online as well. And I mentioned the web tool. This is an example of what this looks like. So these are interactive maps with embedded surveys. So as I mentioned, people can access this 24/7. We also use this tool in the virtual format. So, you know, admittedly, it's nice in the virtual format because you can use the interactive maps, but it does tend to be a little bit less personal. There's only so much of that personal touch that you can give, unfortunately, in the virtual environment. Next steps, I mentioned plan development. So we are working on the plans now. We're inputting as much information from what we gathered in phase 1 and phase 2 and writing that up now, and also working on the program guide. We expect to finish with the draft plans in early February of 25. And that'll be, as I mentioned, one guide, the policy map manual, 14 plans, and the policy map will be the deliverables for that piece. And that's all I have. If you have any questions or comments, love to hear them.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I will open it up to the committee. Does anybody have any questions, comments, feedback? I think all of us, except for Commissioner Russell, were at the West in person. But Commissioner Russell has his hand up first, so we're going to get started with him.
Sure. Kathy, thank you for that presentation. Back during the public engagement where you showed from beginning to end, it went from 5,000 comments to like 50, and you said it was natural to expect that decrease. And can you explain why that would be natural? I'm just curious.
Because we're addressing the comments. Yeah. So, and the 5,000 was a survey. So, you expect to get a lot there, which we're very pleased with. Yep.
That makes sense. Thank
Good.
you.
Anybody else? Otherwise, I'm going to open a small can of worms. And Kathy, we talked about this at the Planning Commission retreat. I was on the virtual call and challenged by the virtual call in a number of ways. One of the things there was so much information. It came in a one-way direction from the presenters. Oftentimes, I didn't feel like if you didn't know what was going on, you just, it's sipping off a fire hose in a lot of ways. And I realized that, this is the tool that we have to work with. I'm just putting it out there that I wonder if there's a different way, as opposed to saying, here are these 20 people talking at you in the next hour, that we could somehow either break that up, make it more palatable, because, there were the 5 rooms. I got to 3 rooms on mine. And I kind of changed when it was a good time to change, but they weren't all in sync. So I came in the middle of Gretchen's session. Maria's session, I came in the middle of that one too. And I thought maybe I had more time. And then I looked up and it's like, oh, we're wrapping up now. And so I didn't get to all of them. I don't know if you have, this is gospel according to Douglas, so take it with a grain of salt, right? But if you've had any other feedback in that direction, I don't know what the answer to that is. And I'm sure you guys have gotten some feedback, and that's probably fine, and you will address it as is the best thing for you to do. I just wanted to make my feedback official. If that works.
Really appreciate that. And we have heard that from a couple other commissioners as well as others. I think this is a new format for a lot of our partner departments, and they do have tons of information and they're subject matter experts. So we have talked with them about maybe curating the information a little bit, and then the Passport offers an opportunity to kind of embed some questions to maybe get a little bit more of the conversation going.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely try that the next time. And the good thing is we have a couple weeks between 2-3 weeks between each of the workshops. So that's by design so that we can make these adjustments as we go along. And if there's other adjustments we need to make, we're happy to do that as well.
I'm used to that environment where if somebody is got a pitch, and let's say it's an entrepreneurial environment, you've got the elevator talk, you've got to give somebody in 1 minute. And you've got 1 minute, and you got to get the high points, and you got to get it clear in that time. I don't know that that's totally appropriate, but it is, I think, somewhat indicative of the direction that I would perhaps prefer to see some of this stuff. Give us a hook so that I want to ask you a question instead of giving us a fire hose so that I'm going like, hey, can't swallow all that. So
yeah, our staff is kind of functioning as facilitators too. So we'll also, it's a partnership between us and the department experts that are there.
Yeah.
So we'll help with that as well.
Yeah.
Take more responsibility.
One last thing, it was an hour long, right? Is that an
I
hour?
think it's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say extend it to an hour. I was thinking, for some reason, it was only an hour. What time did it start? Did it start at 11:30?
I think it starts at 11. It goes to 12:30.
12:30. Okay. I was just thinking a little bit more time might be useful too, but just throwing ideas. This is spaghetti against the wall. None of it has to stick. Commissioners, does anybody else have any comments or things that they would like to say in that regard?
Yep, I was wondering, since we have these geographies and we've got the surveys and the comments from the policy map, if we couldn't take the information that we've already gotten from the public and curate who needs to show up at each one of the planning meetings. So if you got a lot of transportation in West Outer, then maybe the focus needs to be on CDOT and NCDOT or whoever that's related to, and CATS related to transportation. And maybe it's not so heavy on planning staff or police, right? And that could be different by geography because we've got those responses. And maybe that's a way to kind of curate the information to Commissioner Weldon's point that you've got it. You can develop your hook and then you know what your main topics of conversation are going to be. And then if you have anything that's outside of that, you can kind of record the questions and follow up with people later in a later iteration of that.
Thanks. I think we shared comments with the partners, but we'll make sure, and then that could help them curate their conversation a little bit too. Thank you for that.
Does anybody else have any comments they want to put out there? And I'm sure that you guys have not been shy. Oh, Commissioner Wilden.
Yeah, so over since the West in person, I've been playing a lot with what is it called? The website, the web tool. And I find it incredibly helpful. I really love it. Honestly, it's like I'm a very, very visual learner. And I find it incredibly helpful. And I'm wondering if there's a way to kind of help address like what you were saying about like maybe sending that out via the confirmation email. So then people kind of can play with it a little bit. Or something. I
A
don't know.
link to it in the confirmation email?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. We can look at that, definitely.
Yeah. Because it was sent afterwards, but not before, I think.
Yeah, and if you've got,
Yeah, in the follow-up email, it does go send out.
yeah, a little 1 minute long, here's what this tool does, here's how you can get started using it, tutorial on it would be very useful. And because the meeting started, the West meeting started, was Maddie the person? Maddie said, here's the link. And I looked in the chat and there was no link. But she said, here's the link 4 times. And there was never a link in the chat until later. And so I didn't have time to watch the little video, but I'm ultra smart. And so I figured I could, you laugh, ha. But I figured I could figure it out all on my own. And so, you know, again, if we, the more stuff we can get people to a level that we can say, this is the base and everybody kind of knows these things. I really love, Commissioner Wilden is one of the brightest people we have on the Planning Commission. And what she says is really good most of the time. But I like that idea of sending out the link. And again, just a little minute-long tutorial because America has a very short attention span. We're spending all of our time and energy on political commercials right now, and I know that that's making everybody happy inside. You all disagree with me again, don't you? Okay. Do you have any other comments, Commissioner Wilden? Were you done?
Oh, I also wanted to applaud y'all for the locations that you're using. I love like the thought of like using Aldersgate, like using Queen's University, like it's places that people know where they are. And so even if you like, oh yeah, there's this community area plan. I think it's at Queens. It's like, even if you go there, you're going to see a sign or something. So like, thank y'all for using easy places. I appreciate that. And I think that's it.
Okay. You can always pontificate later. Commissioner Millen.
Just real quick follow-up on Rebecca, because I was trying to figure out how to take what Will was saying and everything, because I don't think you can, because you're talking about such a broad community, I don't think you can just pinpoint, okay, this area from responses we've gotten or whatever is transit priority, because then if you have people new coming in, and if you go to any city council meetings, you hear people come up all the time and go, well, why didn't my area get this? And so you have to kind of watch on that broad paintbrush. But I like what Rebecca's saying, if we can send that portal out ahead of time and kind of emphasize that this would really help each individual tremendously to kind of glance through it at least, and maybe jot down questions or whatever before coming into the virtual meeting. I think it'd be great.
You good? Excellent. Commissioner Gaston, do you have anything to say?
I don't have any comments. Well, I'll take that back. I do have one comment to make. I liked when we went to the in-person meeting. I just liked the flow because you could stay at one spot and ask more questions if you had them, and just go to the other one and kind of listen and be like, oh, that's not for me. Let me go to the next one. So that was really good. And I know we passed in those passports and we got the little tchotchkes. Y'all didn't have a raffle or anything, did you?
No, when you
Oh.
turn in your passport, you can
kept
get
saying-
some swag, but
Okay.
if you
all
saw
right.
something you like, we can certainly get it to you.
Okay, all right.
Jesus.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
That's
That's
it.
it. And I will piggyback on that and say that I did believe that the in-person event, although I guess it was in a smaller room than was expected, honestly, I loved the energy and the liveliness of it. When you walked in the room, it's kind of like going to the club where it's loud. There were no flashing lights, and there was no that smoke smell that's going to get in your hair for the next morning. But never been out in my life. Anyway, but what was there was energy because the room you had to be a little bit louder. You had to lean into people and pay attention a little bit more. And I thought that created a very good environment conducive for a good conversation with the folks that were there. Every time I interrupted somebody, because that's all I ever do, right? I felt like they were in a very good conversation with the person they were having that with. So, all right, we good? We've wiped item number 17 off of our agenda. Thank you very much, Kathy, and the rest of the staff. And we look forward to additional discussions of community area planning as we go forward. And we will just say this probably every time. If we've got to read 14 plans, y'all better get them to us early. I'm reading a book now. It's 560 pages. I noticed that I'm more than halfway done, and I'm happy about that. So just saying.
Well, we intend them to be very visual.
Okay.
And they'll have the same pattern for each one, so you won't be reading something different in each one.
We will take you at your word for that at this moment. Thanks, Kathy. All right, we're gonna go back to item 2 on our agenda, and that is approval of the minutes for July 16th, 2024. Do I have a motion on the disposition of those minutes?
Gaston, I make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 16th, 2024 meeting.
Russell second.
It's been moved by Gaston and seconded by Russell. All those in favor of approval of those minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. The third item on our agenda is election of the vice chairperson for this committee. And I will just say a little bit about the vice chair. The vice chair is the person that is, let's see, what can we say about them? They are number 2. Yeah.
It's like the vice president.
It's like the vice president. Have a good black suit and go to lots of funerals. That's it. Yeah, whatever. The vice chair usually in this meeting may take over just in case the chairman is not here or is absent for some reason. The vice chair is also a member of the executive committee of the Planning Commission and meets with the chair and vice chair of the zoning committee to discuss agenda topics and business of the executive committee. Do I hear any nominations for, I will open the floor for any nominations for vice chair of this committee, and feel free to self-nominate if you would like to do that.
I'd like to nominate Will Russell because he's a great human. Thanks.
I accept.
Do I hear any other nominations for vice chair? And I probably should say this like 3 times so that, it's all complete. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? All right. Commissioner Russell has been nominated for vice chair. I guess we should have a vote. All those in favor of Commissioner Russell being vice chair, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Commissioner Russell is now our vice chair. Thank you very much, Will. You'll be a fine vice chair. Excited about that option. And now we can go on to our mandatory referrals. And here's what we have is about 13 mandatory referrals in there. I can't remember exactly how many that was. And these items we will vote on in a consent agenda unless someone would like to pull any of these items for us to have a discussion of them individually. Are there any items that you would like to pull for an individual discussion?
I just had a general question.
Yes. Okay.
It's not on a specific one, but I think my question was, because I'm also thinking about like community area plans. In the tree canopy portion, how long does it take for some of these to then be reflected in the tree canopy save? It's just like oh my gosh, you're here. This is perfect. Hi, sorry. I didn't know you were here. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Okay, I think this is on. Hi. Yeah, so on
Introduce
the,
yourself, please.
I am Tara Moore. I'm the Tree Canopy Programs Manager in the Planning Department. Thank you. Yeah, so in the canopy assessment, the one that we currently have, so the one that we were talking about, that is based on 2022 data. So the Tree Canopy Action Plan 2.0, which will be starting off in this fall, in the next probably 2 or 3 months, which will be a whole thing. Yeah, that'll reflect more recent data. So that'll include these purchases. So what we have is really based on data 2 years ago. It's this kind of like a cycle of, we like update it and then we're at the next point where we're going to do it again. So yeah, so by the point we probably have all of the data ready, we'll be basing it on 2024 data, but it'll be in like the end of 2025 that we'll have it ready. So yeah, but I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, because I was just kind of comparing some of the mandatory referrals to like community area plans. And yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
All right, does anybody else? Commissioner Gaston.
Yes, I have a question about mandatory referral 24-41 that has to do with the acquisition due to floodplain, I'm assuming. Yeah.
The floodplain people are here?
Floodplain.
Awesome.
All righty, you look bored over there. I wanted to give you something to do. Okay. So I guess my question is, so I was reading the floodplains and I'm kind of familiar with the referrals in the area. So I noticed this one, it's one particular lot on this cul-de-sac, and there's another one, I'm assuming the one that's in green on this map has already been, that one has already been taken? Or is it previously? Is that what that is?
That's correct. That was a previous acquisition.
Okay, and so this one says that it doesn't say that it was voluntary, but I was looking at some of the other ones and they said it was a voluntary, I guess, giving back of the land or having the land purchased. Is that different for this one because it doesn't say it? Do we ever go in and condemn it and say, hey, we're tired of this flooding and it's causing, so we're going to take this? How does that work?
No, all our acquisitions are voluntary.
They're all voluntary.
And in this case, this one, we tried to buy this in May and it was sold on the private market and
Oh, okay.
the buyer didn't realize the restrictions related to the floodplain.
Okay,
And so reached out to us to buy it. So he was very happy to see us when we could
okay.
and try to help him get out of this.
But I just didn't see that noted on there versus if you looked at, I think it was the next one, which was 42. And it said parcel owner participation was voluntary. No condemnation is proposed. So that's why I was just wondering, it wasn't on that one versus it was on the next one. So that was my question. You answered it successfully. Thank you very much.
But you did not introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm Jonathan Beller with Charlotte Mecklenburg Stormwater Services.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I'm going to follow up on that. I know that you guys kind of score everything in relation to the flood area, and this just happens to be around the corner from where I live. Are a number of those houses there? Because there would be an empty lot and then this house, I guess, would be taken down. So there are going to still be houses on that side next to the creek. Are those all close to being at the top of your list for acquisition?
They are all in the 15-year plan, but again, that's voluntary.
Okay.
So we will mail out letters and approach people, but we cannot force residents to sell.
Where's the 15-year plan? Is it in a public place that I can see, or do I just go look at the flood map and say, wow, your house is in it, buddy?
Yeah. So, you were at the presentation, I believe, that's what you're referring to, the risk
Yeah,
score.
yeah, the risk
And
thingamabob.
so we rank all the floodplain properties and we assign them a risk score, and anything with a risk score or a viability of 5 or below is in the 15-year plan.
Okay,
That CIP 15-year plan just started 2 years ago. And that's run through our Stormwater Advisory Committee. is who
Okay,
approves that
all
plan,
right.
But I can certainly get you a copy of it.
yeah, that's fine. Now I remember, and I have seen the little numbers, but because for rezonings, I've used that same information. So now I'll know to go back and take a look at. I'm just curious about that. Like I said, just because of proximity of where I'm at. Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for John? All right. Do we have any other questions related to mandatory referrals? Anyone? I had one question, and it is on the last one, 2448, the CMS acquisition. When I looked at the map, it looked like, no, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. It's 47, excuse me. It looks like the parcel that's being sold contains the track. Is that correct? Aaron, can we go with the aerial?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, wait.
I didn't know if that was just,
yeah, it's a portion. So if you go to the one, so there's no one here from
oh,
CMS.
okay,
So I will try to answer this as best as I can.
okay,
Go to the one that Bob had sent that shows the exchange. Okay, so this gives you a clearer picture of what's actually happening with this. This land swap, and I'm just gonna read the email that he sent to us just to
Okay,
clarify
that's fine.
what the exchange is. The areas in green are gonna be deeded to CMS. And then the area in red cross hatching is going to be deeded to South End Business Park. So
Okay.
I hope that clarifies it.
all right, that does, I just, you look at the map and it's like, what? And I didn't have a chance to drive by there. I'm vaguely familiar with the area, and
Yeah,
I thought, did they stop using the track? That was my first thought, and they're just getting rid of it. I want this to become a target, so I'm just, if anybody is paying attention out there, it's,
It's just like a little practice field over a
okay,
creek behind the track.
yeah, okay,
it's a portion of that parcel, basically.
okay, all right. It could become a target.
Commissioner Gaston, I have one more question.
Okay,
This is about mandatory referral 24-45. Who would that be? Is that you? Okay. So I guess my question is, how do you have the one parcel that you're doing there, and then you have the other parcel, and there's all these other in between, but they have the same part? How does that happen?
Yeah, so the seller was selling those two parcels as a package. And I did go in person out with a group of us to check them out. The only like reservation we had about the 24-45 smaller one was that it was hard to get to, but we think we have a solution in place so that we can actually get to the site if we need to do any like work on it. So this just happened to me how they were selling them because they owned both of them. We are interested in the larger one that is right to the west of those two. So we have been kind of working on potentially buying that one as well if the seller is open to it. So there's definitely some interest in this part of the city as a whole, but the 24-45 is great, and it had everything that we basically had wanted on it, and the access. If I could stand up for a second, is that all right? And point to
go,
that.
please do. We like standing, people sitting around, that's bad.
Great, awesome. Well, that's a little high for me actually, but you can get onto the property right over there. That's a common space off of Longview Drive. So you can actually get to it it's a simple way to kind of get onto the property. So that was a convenient piece there because we may need to bring a truck or a different type of a car on it. So we definitely wanted to be able to access it. It's a large site. It has a trail kind of system on it already, which was nice. It's just a basic one. It's just like a dirt road type of trail, but I probably answered your question and then some. So I think I'll stop.
How do you, and I guess I was, the the little small one looked landlocked because of the other land. So I was like, what's the purpose of it? Is it just gonna be trees? I mean,
It's just for like trees.
it's for the trees. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we're just gonna leave it as it is, and it's just gonna be a tree covered space. I mean, that's pretty much what we do for each property that we buy, or we would replant on it because we're gonna be doing that on the one that you guys approved a few months back. So that's the Rocky River Church Road one. The other one we'll be doing a replanting thing on that site. But this one, yeah, we're just gonna save the trees.
I just leave it as it is. You're not gonna plant any additional trees. You're just gonna leave it as it is.
On this one, we're not going to plant any extra because it's already tree covered,
Okay.
forested. Yeah.
All right. Anyone got anything else to add to this? Is this the part where we have the script that needs to be read? All righty. Do I hear a motion on? I know it's got big words in it too. This is our script, and just like with the zonings, for those of you who have dragged over with me from the zoning committee, you have to read the script as is up there. So they just have to read the script, right? And we vote on it after that. And we second, and then we vote on it. So would someone like to read the script?
I will volunteer to read the script. Just want to make sure we don't have any additional comments before we do that.
Do we have any additional comments? No, everyone had questions. Did they want to add a comment where you would say, hey, don't do this or do this my way or anything of that nature? No? By the way, for those of you who didn't know, I make this up as I go along. So, all right. Otherwise, we're good. Commissioner Russell's going to do, this is like being in the second grade and you have to stand up in front of the class.
Yeah, I've practiced my speech. I think I'm ready.
Okay, go.
The planning committee reviewed mandatory referral reports number 24-36, number 24-37, number 24-38, number 24-39, number 24-40, number 24-41, number 24-42, number 24-43, number 24-44, number 24-45, number 24-46, number 24-47, and 24-48 on September 17th, 2024, and have no additional comments for the submitting agency.
All right. And now
This is Gaston. I second that motion.
we have a second from, it's been written. Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That is all the excitement that we have on offer for this evening. Our next meeting will be October 15th. And I'm sure there will be Halloween night costumes for everyone. Oh, come on.
Of course, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I did actually have a question.
Okay, we have a question from Commissioner Wellman.
So we're supposed to have a planning commission meeting that Monday, but it's Indigenous Peoples' Day. Is that going to be moved or has it been moved and it's wrong on my calendar?
That has not been moved.
Oh, I'm gonna make a motion next month then.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Anyways, motion to close.
All right. Thank you. Everyone, get out.